don't need a six-figure bank account to look like you have one. Some budget cars have just the right mix of design, features, and road presence to turn heads like a luxury ride. Today I'll show you 9 cars that'll make you look like a tech mogul, even if your most successful app is still your coffee maker. The last car on this list is a hidden gem. People won't believe it's a budget ride. Keep watching till the end. Starting off at number 9, the 2000 to 2005 Toyota MR2 might be the most underrated mid-engine sports car ever built. When these hit the streets, everyone thought Toyota had lost their minds. Here was this teeny Japanese company, basically building a baby Ferrari for Toyota money. The resemblance to the Ferrari 360 wasn't just a happy accident. Toyota's designers knew exactly what they were doing. Now, the ZZW30 chassis, that's the nerdy code name for this generation, is something special. We're talking about a mid-engine, rear-wheel drive setup, the same layout you'll find in cars costing 6 figures. That 1ZZ FED 1.8-liter engine sits right behind your ears, making 138 horsepower and the kind of noises that'll make you forget about your morning coffee. In a car weighing just 2,195 pounds, the 138 horses are like strapping a rocket to a skateboard. These cars are absolute bargains right now. I'm talking $8,000 to $15,000 for a clean example, with the sweet spot being the 2003 to 2005 models. Look for these years because they got some sneaky upgrades, better transmission synchros, improved power steering, and revised suspension geometry that made them handle even better. Plus, they fixed that weird pre-catalytic converter issue that plagued the earlier models. The real magic happens when you start driving it. That mid-engine layout gives you the kind of balance that makes every corner feel like you're in a movie scene. You're getting 25 miles per gallon in the city, 30 on the highway, and these things regularly cruise past 200,000 miles without breaking a sweat. Try finding a Ferrari that can do that. At number 8, we've got something truly special, the Blackwell Widow SPR1, a kit car that transforms an ordinary Mazda Miata into something that looks like it should cost 6 figures. You're starting with a base kit that runs about $4,300. Add in a donor NA or NB Miata, $3,000 to $5,000 for a good one, and you're looking at $12,000 to $15,000. All in, if you're handy with a wrench. The genius part, it keeps all the Miatas running gear, that bulletproof 1.6-liter or 1.8-liter engine, depending on your donor car, the same transmission that's survived decades of abuse, and suspension that's been tested by every weekend warrior with a dream. But the real story is what happens when you're done building it. The Widow takes the Miata's roughly 2,000-pound curb weight and wraps it in a bodywork that looks like it was designed by someone who really understands automotive theater. We're talking about dramatically sculpted fenders, a low-slung profile, and the kind of presence that makes people at gas stations pull out their phones. It's actually usable, unlike some kit cars that feel like they're held together with hopes and dreams. The Widow maintains all the practical aspects of the Miata. The same reliable engine that'll run forever, the same parts you can get anywhere, and the same fun-to-drive character that made the Miata famous in the first place. Focus on finding a clean 1994 to 2000 Miata as your donor car. The 1.8-liter engine from these years gives you a solid 130 to 140 horsepower to work with. And the later NB models, 1999 to 2000, came with improved interior quality and better brakes. Just make sure your donor car has a solid frame. That's not something you want to mess with during the build. The number 7 pick brings us to the Factory 5 818, another kit car that takes the humble Subaru WRX and turns it into a modern supercar. Starting at $12,995 for the kit, you'll need about $25,000 to $30,000 total to get it road ready. But remember what you're getting, a car that weighs just 1,800 pounds. For reference, that's lighter than the original Lotus Elise. Interestingly, the Subaru flat-4 engine that everyone knows and loves, when you drop it into something this light, it becomes an absolute monster. We're talking about 250 plus horsepower in its basic form. And if you know anything about Subaru engines, you know that's just the starting point. I've seen builds pushing 350, even 400 horses. Do the math, that's a better power-to-weight ratio than most supercars. The mid-engine layout also gives you the kind of balance that makes every corner feel like you're reading the road through your fingertips. The tube frame chassis is so well designed that even first-time builders end up with something that feels factory-made. And when you nail that 3.9 second 0 to 60 time, yeah, nobody's going to believe you built it yourself. Look for a 2006 to 2007 WRX donor car. Those years got the better TD04 turbo from the factory, plus some sneaky good engine management updates that make tuning easier, and trust me, you're going to want to tune it. Sliding into the number 6 spot, the Chrysler Crossfire SRT6 is the automotive equivalent of a sleeper agent. American on the outside, pure German performance underneath. The SRT6 version is the one you want, specifically from 2005 or 2006. Under that sculpted hood sits a hand-built AMG supercharged V6 pushing 330 horsepower. Through a 5-speed automatic that's way better than it has any right to be. And when I say hand-built, I mean some guy named Clausen Alfertabach literally put his signature on that engine. Every single one of these engines was built by one person from start to finish. That's some serious bragging rights right there. These things are hitting this perfect sweet spot right now, where you can pick up one for $15,000 to $25,000. The retractable rear spoiler that deploys at 60 miles per hour, Mercedes engineering. Those strakes on the hood look like they're straight off a Viper. Pure American muscle car swagger. The interior, it's basically a Mercedes-Benz parts bin raid, and I mean that in the best possible way. Real aluminum trim, leather everywhere, and build quality that'll make you question why anyone pays more for a new luxury car. The driving experience is amazing. That supercharged V6 has this Jekyll and Hyde personality. 0 to 60 happens in 4.8 seconds, and it'll pull all the way to 158 miles per hour if you've got the road and the courage for it. A little tip is to look for one with the original Mercedes-Benz maintenance records. A lot of these cars got serviced at Mercedes dealers because, well, they're basically Mercedes cars. Those are the ones you want. And while you're at it, check the supercharger clutch. It's about the only weak point these cars have, and it's a known issue. Breaking into our top 5 with the 2008 to 2010 Maserati Gran Turismo, probably the only car on this list that can make you look like $1 million while actually serenading you with the Ferrari-derived F136U 4.2-liter V8. Yes, the engine shares DNA with what was in the F430, and these early Gran Turismos are hitting a good spot where depreciation has done its thing, dropping them into the magical $25,000 to $35,000 range. The trick is finding one that's been maintained by someone who understood what they were getting into, because these aren't just pretty faces with a fancy badge. That V8 is pushing 405 horsepower, and this engine has personality, like serious personality. It's got this bizarre flat plane crank setup that makes it sound like nothing else on the road. When you're cruising at 2,500 RPM, it's practically purring. Hit 4,000, it turns into something from a motorsport event. By 7,500 RPM, you're conducting an Italian orchestra. The ZF 6-speed automatic in these cars is actually bulletproof. It's the same basic transmission you'll find in everything from BMWs to Rolls-Royces. The real maintenance headaches come from the hydraulic steering rack and the front control arms. Budget about $2,500 every 20,000 miles for those, and you'll save yourself some serious heartache. Find one with complete dealer service records and get cozy with an independent Maserati specialist, not the dealership. I'm talking about that guy who's been working on Italian exotics since before you were born. Those are the ones who know that the alternator looks to quit around 50,000 miles, or that the trunk release mechanism is basically made of hopes and dreams. Our number 4 pick, the 2007 to 2009 Jaguar XKR, proves that the British don't just know how to make a pretty car, they know how to make one that'll pin you to your seat. The heart of this beast is that Eden supercharged 4.2-liter V8, and it's way more special than people realize. This isn't just some slap-together engine, it's got those incredible forged connecting rods, a reinforced crankshaft, and these unique pistons that were specifically designed to handle forced induction. All that adds up to 420 horsepower, but it makes peak torque at just 2,500 RPM. That means it pulls like a freight train from basically any speed. These cars are stupidly undervalued right now. I'm talking $25,000 to $32,000 for something that'll embarrass cars costing 3 times as much. But you need to know what you're looking for. The 2007 to 2009 models got this updated CATS suspension system. That's computer active technology suspension, not the musical. It actually is pretty robust, unlike the air suspension nightmares on some other British luxury cars I could name. These cars have 2 weak spots that nobody talks about: the water pump and the differential mount bushings. Replace the water pump preemptively every 60,000 miles. Even if it seems fine, trust me on this. As for those diff bushings, they're about a $600 fix that'll transform how the car drives. The true genius of this car is in the details you can't see. The aluminum chassis is bonded and riveted like an aircraft. The supercharger has these incredible ceramic bearings that'll outlast probably everything else on the car. And that 6-speed ZF transmission, it's got this adaptive shift pattern that actually learns how you drive. Give it a week and it's like it's reading your mind. The bronze medal goes to the 2008 to 2010 Audi R8 V8, a genuine mid-engine supercar that you can now pick up for less than the price of a loaded pickup truck. Not only is it more affordable at $45,000 to $55,000, but the 4.2-liter FSI engine is literally a masterpiece of engineering. That V8 is based on the RS4 engine, but Audi did something crazy that gave it a dry sump oil system. It matters because it means you can actually track this thing without worrying about oil starvation and high G corners. And trust me, you'll be hitting those Gs. Fans love that all-aluminum chassis. This thing was built in the same factory where they made the A8, using this space-age aluminum construction that's basically aerospace-grade stuff. The whole car weighs just 3,605 pounds. That's lighter than most modern sports sedans. You'll also get the Quattro all-wheel drive with this. Now, these cars have a quirk with their magnetic ride suspension. If you're looking at one, check if it's got the original dampeners. They tend to get wonky around 50,000 miles. But there's this company in Texas that rebuilds them for half of what the dealer charges. And they actually work better than new. The gated manual transmission is like a mechanical watch for your right hand. Every click, every engagement, it's mechanical perfection. And unlike a Ferrari's gated shifter, this one actually works when it's cold outside. The clutch pedal is light enough that you won't hate yourself in traffic, but heavy enough to give you that mechanical feedback you want in a proper supercar. Taking the silver medal is the LB Stratos replica. This isn't just another kid car, this is automotive art that you can actually drive. The original Stratos was Lancia's homologation special that dominated rally racing, and this modern interpretation captures that same wild spirit, but makes it actually livable. These cars are built on a custom chassis that's actually 10% larger than the original Stratos. Because the original was basically a torture chamber for anyone over 5 foot 10 inches. The modern version gives you enough room to actually use it without visiting a chiropractor. The genius is in the modularity. You can drop in anything from a naturally aspirated V6 to a twin-turbo setup, pushing anywhere from 300 to 400 horses. The sweet spot is the Alfa Romeo Busso V6. It's got the right sound, the right power curve, and most importantly, it's got the soul that a car like this deserves. When you're spending $55,000 to $65,000 on one of these, you're buying into a piece of automotive history that you can actually modify and make your own. The composite body panels are actually stronger than the originals, and the modern suspension geometry means you can drive it hard without it trying to kill you like the original would. Alright, our number one spot goes to the 2014 to 2016 Corvette Z51, the car that forced the entire automotive world to admit that America had finally built a world-class sports car that could dance with the Europeans. When these hit the market, everyone was focused on the Z06 and the ZR1. But the Z51? That was the hidden gem of the market. The LT1 V8 isn't just another small block Chevy. It's got direct injection, variable valve timing, and cylinder deactivation. The dry sump oiling system is the real party piece that came standard on Z51 cars. That means you can pull serious G's without starving the engine of oil. Most people don't know that the C7 Z51's electronic limited slip differential is actually smarter than what you'll find in some modern sports cars. It can go from fully open to fully locked in less than half a second. That means it's constantly adjusting based on your driving style, the weather conditions, even how much steering angle you're using. These cars are hitting $35,000 to $45,000 right now, and that's absolute theft for what you're getting, guys. The 7-speed manual transmission has this rev matching feature that makes you feel like a pro driver. But here's the trick: find one with the Z51 cooling package. It adds an extra radiator, differential cooler, and transmission cooler. That means you can actually use all 455 horses without worrying about heat soak. The carbon fiber hood is part of a perfect 50-50 weight distribution that makes this car handle like something half its size. And those who know. The C7 generation was when Chevrolet finally figured out how to make an interior that doesn't feel like it came from the discount bin in AutoZone. I recommend the 2015 or 2016 model. They got this subtle update to the transmission calibration that made a huge difference in daily driving. They also sorted out some minor issues with the infotainment system that plagued the early cars. And that's a wrap. Which car on this list do you think actually looks the most high-end? And be honest, would you rather spend a little more for the real thing, or are these budget rides good enough for you? Drop your comments below. Before you go, don't forget to check out our recent video on most reliable cars with long-lasting engines. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and press the bell icon. Thanks for watching.